This is an excerpt of a recent Power Up webinar called Ask Larry Anything. Hi, my name is Larry Jordan. One of the questions that we've been looking at recently is how we can improve our system performance. Clearly, one way is to buy a new computer, but that's also the most expensive. One of the things I discovered and wrote an article about in my newsletter is that we can improve performance by increasing the speed of our storage. I read that article again over the last couple of days and realized that it was incomplete. There's more we can talk about. So let me explain the situation. If we look first at Premiere, if we store our media on a hard disk drive, for instance, a 4-drive RAID, and export to that same hard disk drive, let's call that 100% speed. If we keep our media stored on that hard drive RAID, but export to an SSD, the exports are 40% faster. And if we store the media on an SSD and export it to an SSD, it's 50% faster. If we want to improve the speed of rendering and the speed of export, which are two of the things that take the most time, we can do that not by buying a new computer, but by simply adding an SSD into our storage and using the SSD at a minimum for exports and render, or put media on it as well to get the maximum performance. Let's take a look at it from a Final Cut point of view. If we store the media and the projects on a 4-drive HDD RAID, remember HDD stands for hard disk drive, let's call that 100% speed. If I export to an SSD but keep the media on a hard drive, it's 60% faster. And if I store both the media and export to the SSD, it's 80% faster. I can significantly improve the speed of render and export on active projects by moving my media and my libraries from a hard drive, like a RAID, to an SSD. And the reason is that hard drives can starve the CPU. For instance, look at this top bar chart. This represents an M2 Mac Studio. It's got 12 cores in it. And the cores are doing virtually nothing. Why? Because although it's reading data at 144 megabytes a second, which is fast in my mind, it's not fast as the CPUs are concerned. Look at the bottom bar chart. Now I'm reading data at almost 1.1 gigabytes a second. Almost 8 times faster. And even now, the CPUs are barely working, which means that it isn't the CPU core count or the GPU core count that's really affecting performance. It's the speed of our storage. The faster our storage goes, the harder the CPUs and GPUs can work. But most of the time, if they're just connected to a hard drive, they're not getting enough data to be able to even wake up and start to do the work. I'm exaggerating for dramatic effect. The faster the performance of your storage, the faster the performance of your NLE. Final Cut is still the fastest when media is stored and exported on an SSD RAID. Final Cut renders and exports 2.5 times faster than Premiere, and Final Cut may be even faster after upgrading to Mac OS Sonoma and Final Cut 10.7 because of how it's dealing with multiple media engines on a high-end chip. We'll know more about that in a couple weeks. This was an excerpt of a recent Power Up webinar called Ask Larry Anything. For the complete version of this online training, please visit our store at larryjordan.com/store and look for Webinar 360. By the way, when you need to stretch your training dollars, membership in our video training library saves you money and time. You can access all our videos for a low monthly price of only $19.99. That's almost 2,000 movies, hundreds of hours on a wide variety of subjects. Plus, premium members can download practice media and projects. Our training covers Apple and Adobe software. We update it multiple times each month. And for more information, visit larryjordan.com/membership. And thanks.